Hello everyone. On this video, I'm going to show you how the state and props are work on the functional component on the React applications. So here I create a React applications on this folder called React Toolsets, and on this folders I have the couple of the files which is created by React CLI. I created this application using React CLI here, using this command, or you can create any other applications, or you already have familiar about the React applications, then you know how to create it. And here on these files, as you can see in the source files, I have the app.js, and app.js have these headers, and in the headers, this is a logo. It's loading here. That's how it's showing on the screen here in the browser. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove this. I don't need anything on this one, so I'm gonna do a test here. So now it's gonna reload this, and it's gonna give me a test. Or if it doesn't reload, then I will reload it myself. Let me check. Okay, it's compiling. Okay, now it's compiling and it gave me a test right here. And as you know, in a public folder, when I created a React applications from CLI, here is the index.html and here is a div ID root. And in this root, it will inject by the index.js, and because it has the service worker, which I don't need this anymore. I don't need it. I'm not using this for any of these tutorials. And here is the index.css, and index.css is basically it's a global CSS. It's pointing. I'll leave it there, and it's calling the app.js file, and app.js file has a test, and it's showing a test in the screen right here in the browser. All right, I'm gonna make this a little bigger here. So I'm going to delete this app.css and logo, which I don't need here. So I have a blank applications here for React. I want to delete this also. Now it's a blank applications here. So here I'm going to create you a state first. So the way how the state is created on functional component is using something called use state functions. So if I click a use state here, then the use state I need to import from React. And once I import it, now this is my initial state. What would be my initial state? So I will create this as an empty array, and I will create something called customer state here. And this is the second parameter right here is the functions that will set the customer state, and it's gonna be a set customer state. All right, so this is going to be a data, and in this data I don't have anything now, it's empty, and this is how we set the data on the customer state. So there is a life cycles functions called use fact. If you guys don't know about the life cycles, you can check my other videos which has had life cycles. I was explain how the React life cycle works. And in the use effect, I'm gonna create a new customer here. This is a local a customer which has the array. Array is basically now it has a data of the customer. So I'm gonna give a name of the customer. CO doesn't even matter, and I'm gonna give something called credit limit of this customer. Credit limit, like give me a 2,000. So I have the first object here of this in this array list, and I'm gonna create another one here, and I'm gonna give ID 2, and it's a DO, doesn't matter, whatever the DO is, and I'm gonna give a credit limit here. All right. So now I'm gonna set this customer, which I locally create on use state, and I'm gonna set on this customer state here. So when the app will load that first time, it's gonna set this customer on this my set customer here. So when it's setting in my customer, I'm getting a data in a customer state, so I can print that state on here on my JXS. So I'm gonna print this as using a map. So uh, I'm gonna because this is an array, so I can loop the array and I can get the data here. All right. So in this data, I'm gonna give as a as a parameter, sorry, paragraph here, and in the paragraph I can get a d dot name. Now I can see the name is printing here, CO and DO, right? And it's a paragraph, so that's why I'm also getting a paragraph here. So now it give me a one error here called key, so we need to also provide a key. and the key is going to be a d.id, and the key is also coming from the data here from the customer. So basically here I created a local variable, and local variable I fed some data here, and this basically in the real world you will get some data from the APIs, and when you get the data from API you will set on this set on this state, and once the you can set on this state you can print the data on the access. That's how the state works. So now let's see how the props works. So now I will create another component called another folder called components folders. And the components folders, let's write some of the create a new folder called card, and in a card let's create something called card.js. And I will create a functional component here. So functional component is going to be a React function component, and its export. So this is how I created of the functional component using extension. I'm also using extension here, by the way, guys. And the extension is React. Where is it? My extension? React. This one, the simple extension for React one. This is very helpful if you install on a VS Code editor. If you guys using a VS Code. And once I have this one now, the card one, now I can use this card on my app.js right here. Right. So now I can, instead of the paragraph printing, I'm gonna print my card here. So I don't need this paragraph now, so I will delete it and I'll put my card. Now card will loop instead of paragraph. The card will give me, the card is not defined because I need to import where this is coming from. If I click it right here by clicking Control and space and click this one, VS Code Editor will give me the way it's coming from. If it doesn't give you, then you need to literally type it out. Now I will save this and I will see the card is printing, and card is printing from here. So let's get some CSS on this card so it looks a little better. And you can use a CSS using this. You can import CSS from literally using the import. And I will use the card.css here, create a card.css, and I'll create a new card class. And I'm gonna give some border here is a 1 pixel solid and give some gray color here, kind of like gray, and I'm giving some padding here, just giving a 15 pixel padding. If I go in card here, and the card doesn't have any class name is here, so I'm going to give a class name here, and the class name is a card. So now I will just see some CSS on here, right? I'll say some CSS here. So now what I'm gonna do is, so instead of this code, I need to print the data which is coming from here. So now the props comes play, now the props comes to play here. So now once I get the data in the state, now I can set and send this data uh, to, to using the attributes. So I'm printing the data on D is my variable. So whenever the D will print, then it will send something called customer state. So instead of customer state, I'll just do a customer here. So I'm sending an attribute called customer here in the card. So in a card here, I can get the props. And in the props, now I get the customer. So instead of here, I can do a customer customer, and customer has an attribute, sorry, the property called name. So I will do a name here. So now I will see the name of the customer here, right? Or I can also use this uh, string interpolation command to concatenate the string. Or you can use any there are different way to use it, but this is one of the way and easiest way to use it. Now I'm printing the customer's name and the credit, right? But there is another way to load this customer from the props as well. So you can create a constant here called customers, and you will get these props. And we don't need to do a props.customer at all. So I'm putting this props on this local variable called customer using this syntax here. And instead of this customer, sorry, props.customer, I can literally type a customer here. So I can get the same data here. Yes, I'm also getting the error here. The key is not printing because I haven't put a key on this card here. So I can literally need to put a key here called d.id. So it will remove my error here. So now the last thing is that we can also use our props types. It's better to use our props types. So there are different kind of prop types of which you can use it. Here's the examples how what are the types of the props types that you could use it. So to use a prop types, I need to import the prop types from this prop types here. So prop types is basically nothing. It's just a strict rules that you are getting something from, you are expecting something from props and you are getting in a code here. So to use that is a similarly example is showing here greeting.props types. So we need to use here something called card.props types. And prop type is a lowercase p here at initializing this card. So in a prop.card time, card.props type, uh, we are getting the object, and in the object we are getting the customer, and customer is basically nothing but it's a props types its object. So if I use a sorry, I need to delete it. If I use a prop the object, then if I load it here, I'm not getting any error. But instead of the prop the object, if I use a number here, so I'm expecting something from number, but I'm getting the object, then it give me invalid prop customer of object supply to the card is expected as number because it's expecting as a number because I told them this is expected as number, right? So I could literally write the object here, so now it's expecting as an object. But you can also go a little deep on inside your object, and you could also use something called shape here. So instead of the object, we can also use a shape. And shape here, we could also tell them the exact property of the what the object is looking for. And the name, what's the name is? Name is the type of a name is a string. So we can literally type it's a string. And another one is what is the credit limit? We're also getting a credit limit. So we'll tell the credit limit is number, but let's type the string here. So if I type a string on the credit limit, then it will give me an error that it's sending a number, but we're expecting as a string. So I'll just change back to the number, so I'm not getting any error here. So I'm not getting any error. So there are different kinds of the method here, which you can use it on the props types. You can read these documents. And that's all for this video, guys. Here I explained how the state and props works and how the prop test is defined. And thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.